We're in Bridgeport, Twin Lakes area this morning, and I did a little fishing on Robinson Creek. And I got a few fish here. I thought I might talk about the difference in them. Caught three this morning. Pretty. Couple of them are pretty good size for a creek. What I've got here is a brown trout and two rainbow trouts. So what we're going to talk about this morning is the difference in the two species and how you can identify them. So let's get started and take a close-up look at the fish. So what we have here, first of all, is a couple rainbow trout. You can see these are definitely hatchery trout. It's real common for the hatchery trout to have their fins kind of ground away, cut away, probably nibbled by other fish. You can see the rainbow is basically a silvery fish, but it also has some iridescence to it, and you can see this one has some pink down the sides. They vary a little bit, but that's a very typical rainbow trout from the hatcheries for the Eastern Sierra. Now, this is another example of a rainbow. He's been out of the water a little longer. He's not the prettiest fish either. He's kind of got an odd shape to his head, but and of course he's a little smaller. Now this guy, his front fins are also clipped, but there's more fin there than there is even on this bigger fish. And that's also true of his belly fin down here. Anyway, you can see the colors similar. Got a little pink down the side. I don't know why he has that. It looks like he's looking down or something. Anyway, that's I think that's kind of an oddball looking fish. Now this, on the other hand, is a brown trout. Caught this right out of the same area of the creek. Notice the fins on these are full-size fins. A very large dorsal fin. I think these are, I don't know, I forget the name of these fins, but this is a nice looking fin on his backside here. Nice large fin toward the front. Nice looking fish. You can identify them primarily identify them by the red and the brown spots on their sides. Also by the color. They usually have a little bit of a tan belly, but sometimes that will go kind of white. But nice looking fish. Now, when I was a kid, we used to call these, when we would catch a brown, we thought we were really lucky and we'd caught a native fish. These are not native. This fish was planted here. It's grown in hatcheries just like the rainbows are. It's just a different variation that they plant smaller numbers of, but they do plant them. There aren't any browns or rainbows for that matter, that are native to the Eastern Sierra. So when people tell you they caught a native brown trout, you'll know the difference. They all came from hatcheries, but this guy's probably been in the water a little longer in the stream water as opposed to the hatchery, a little longer than this guy has up here. So once you've seen the difference in them, it's pretty obvious what a rainbow looks like compared to a brown. Okay, so now that I've shown you the difference in the fish identification, let's go ahead and do a quick fish filleting demonstration. I like to use a very sharp knife. If you're going to cut fillets, you're going to need a sharp knife. I like these Havalon, but whatever kind of knife you like to use, make sure that it's razor sharp. Now I'm going to start right behind this front fin. Find the gill plate. The gill plate is just behind his gills. It's kind of a cartilage area there. going to start just behind that, and we're going to cut down to about until you feel the knife hit the spine on this side and about the center of the belly on this side over here. And then we're going to turn the knife, and we're going to start taking that fillet off the side. Now the idea is that the knife is going to follow the spine here. We'd like to cut the ribs away from the spine, and at the same time we're going to watch on the belly side so that we get most of the belly meat on that side. But I like to not include the fin in my fillet. Sometimes they get on there and you cut them off later, but we'll try to avoid that by steering our fillet knife and back to the other side, to the back side. We'll follow that spine. We'll work our way right down, kind of a sawing motion right out off of the tail. Now we've got a nice brown trout fillet. Okay, that's one side of the fish, and then we're going to flip him over. Do the same thing to his other side. It's a little harder to do the other side because he doesn't lay so nicely on the cutting board. And I'm going to try to get as much of that back meat as I can. That's the best part of it. And I'm going to try to avoid getting that fin. And then once we're past that area, you can almost just drag the fish through your knife as you do a little sawing motion. And then you got your second brown trout fillet. And the guts, everything you hit, everything else, you just discard to the side. Okay, so we got the fillets off the brown trout. Now let's do the same thing to our buddy, this rainbow trout. Right behind the gill plate, we're going to cut down to the spine, down to the belly, center line, rotate our knife. We'll take that fillet right off. Okay, now we got a rainbow trout fillet. Flip him over. I got a little bit of his bile sac here, which doesn't really hurt anything, but that yellow slime is part of his digestive juices. We'll go down to the center line and the spine. We'll turn our knife. And get a little more belly meat there. We get as much meat as we can without wasting any. Wasting as little as we can. There's always a certain amount of waste with fillets. And then we have another rainbow fillet. At this point, I'd like to show you a brown trout fillet and a rainbow trout fillet. You've probably heard experienced fishermen talk about how the brown trout have a nice pink meat. And that's often the case. I'm not sure that it has anything to do with the species or if it has more to do with what they've been eating, how long they've been in the water, and whether they've been eating natural food or not. Hatchery fish always seem to have this pale, not very attractive flesh. It's much more common to get a nice pink fillet from your brown trout. Actually, often much pinker than this. This one is actually kind of mediocre as far as the pretty color of the fillet. but it's definitely a little bit different meat, and I think most people will find this pink fillet to be a much firmer and better tasting meat than what comes out of the hatchery fish. Now, while I'm showing you these fillet differences, we'll go to the next step of the filleting process, and that will be, we've got these rib bones here, which are not very pleasant to eat. You can get rid of those right now with a minimal loss of flesh. And to do that, we'll lay the fillet back on the board. Again, this is where you really need that sharp knife. And we will cut that fillet, or we will cut that rib cage away from the fillet. Discard that. You can skin these if you want to. I don't skin my trout anymore unless I get a really large one. And it's not worth, in my opinion, it's not worth skinning these smaller fish. I don't even scale them. They deep fry up just great the way they are. This was probably about a 12-inch fish, I suppose. Maybe 13 on that rainbow. He was a little larger. And that right there is ready to be dredged in some cornmeal, dropped in some 350-degree frying oil, and will be delicious. Okay, what I've done here is I've took the fillets over to the sink and washed a little blood off of them, cleaned them up a little bit, put them in quart-sized bags. These 6 fillets are a pretty good meal for 2 people. So that's my process with identifying what kind of trout we have. I wish I could get a lot more browns. We like those a lot better than the rainbows. But we appreciate all that we can get. Fishing was pretty good out here. Took me, I guess, a couple hours to pick up these 3. And the bite was just kind of mediocre, not really a very strong bite. So these are ready to go right into the freezer. They'll lay flat just like that in the freezer. And we'll eat them. One of these days we'll invite you over and you can have some fish with us. That's it. Signing off for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.